Hello and welcome to another episode of Sports and Songs podcast. We're on season 5, episode number 9. This is the Songs edition. Hello, Andy. Today is January 4th, 2024. How are you?
I am doing well. How about yourself?
Good. Looking forward to 2024 here. It's our first episode of Songs, first album review for the new year as we cross over into 2024. We've got a good one. We've got some concert tour music to talk about, but we got an album review today from Black Sabbath. Black
Yes.
Sabbath. They go way back, and people have one, stereotype of them and the band and Ozzy, and then you do an album review like this, and it's much different. But they were really competing with Zeppelin and back in the late '60s and early '70s
Right.
with the rock and roll, the heavy sound. And we're going to review today Master of Reality. Andy, here it is, Master of Reality. I've never owned this album, Andy. Have you?
No, I've listened to it this week when we came up about it. But that's really about the only time I've really heard a lot of these songs.
Same
Not
here.
saying if I did in the past heard them, someone else had it, but then nothing struck out to me. It's like, hey, I remember that song.
Yeah, this is the third studio album by English heavy metal band Black Sabbath. And that's the phrase they use on Wikipedia, English heavy metal band.
Yes.
Released August 1971. So we were just born, we were just youngsters, we were just 1 year old, if that. And this album, once again, I think it's way ahead of its time for the music, but it's regarded as some of the foundation of doom metal, stoner rock, sludge metal.
Yes. Very
And
interesting terms.
we'll get into some of that later on in the show, but I was interested to see that, as well. So it's considered heavy metal. In the studio, they recorded this in London. Now, like you said, I didn't own this. You didn't own this. Reviewing this album, several of the tracks I've never heard in my life. I went through and just listened for the first time. Was quite interested, but the rest of the common songs are well known that we all know and love. But let's go through the track listing first, and we'll get into the details. Song 1 is Sweet Leaf. Everyone knows that one, right? I mean, that's one of your basic, one of the best songs, I think, that got me into Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
It's just one of the best. The song, the lyrics, the composition, the music, it's very heavy as well. But of course, they're talking about marijuana, and those guys, that lyric, I think, written by Geezer Butler, but the song was about the relationship that the band had with marijuana and the love affair or the relationship that they had with marijuana. And that's just what they, this was their life, and
that was what they did. Yep.
So very good. Song 2 is Ever Forever. Song 2, Ever Forever. Christian song, actually probably one of the most powerful Christian songs there are out there. And I don't think many people know that. I, including myself, did not until I read the lyrics of what that song is really about. Once again, Geezer Butler with the Christian background there. Song 3 is Embryo, which is just an instrumental. It's really the intro to Children of the Grave. Children of the Grave. Yeah, that's the song. The only one they released off this album is Children of the Grave. And once again, they love to have songs with grave or dark and doom. But the whole song here is, once again, it's anti-Vietnam War, kind of anti-war message and what to do. These aren't just hippies saying we want to get into love and let's have love and hippies and smoke some weed. But these guys are giving, making action items to say, hey, do something about it. You don't like it, do something about it. If not, you're going to turn out to be children of the grave. That's the message. And so very good lyrics. Once again, way ahead of their time. Next song is Orchid, another instrumental. And these instrumentals, when you listen to the bass and the lead guitar on some of this stuff and the drums, these guys were way more talented than I gave them credit for. I did not know that, Black Sabbath back in the day was, I know they were popular, but they were not musicians as far as how good, Tony Iommi, some of these guys, Geezer Butler, so unreal. The next song is Lord of This World. Once again, very good lyrics. It gives kind of the pros and cons. It talks about God and Satan, God and the devil back and forth, and it goes about that, which something I never knew. Once again, was very heavy in these Black Sabbath songs. They're really these guys were like a striper, Andy, almost Christian rock.
To
I
a
never
point,
knew
yeah.
that. Next song is Solitude, and then the final song is Into the Void. And so they've got some soft stuff, some musical masterpieces on this album, some very soft, beautiful music on this Black Sabbath album. And then they've got songs with really good messaging and lyrics. Now, of course, Ozzy Osbourne was the lead vocalist, but a lot of this, they weren't written by him. He was singing the lyrics. Had to learn the lyrics. Tony Iommi does the guitar. On a couple songs, plays the flute, plays the piano. And is it true that he was in Jethro Tull at one point?
I heard that too. Yeah, he did do a little stint with them. Yes.
Wow. Yeah, big name. Geezer Butler bass, some tremendous bass on this, and some of the videos that I watched this afternoon, looking forward to this review is, if you watch this guy play the bass guitar, these guys were so far ahead of their time. Bill Ward on drums, the late Bill Ward, and so that's the band. So before we go any further, Andy, what are your thoughts on this group?
Well, and you look at the stuff too. This is their third album. So not Suck a Boring Reporter, but they had grown as musicians through these first three albums. For this one, they what was the word I heard? They did turn down the guitars to get more of a lower sound, more of a
Tuned down. Yes, they tuned down
more of a
the
depressing
bass in
sound.
the guitar.
You get that stoner rock type sound. And I'll say this, and I'm not going to sit here and beat my chest saying better than anyone, but never done the drugs, and I still like Black Sabbath. So there,
Yeah, it is.
Everybody assumes that it was, but it's just nice you just want to relax and just have that stoner mentality, if you will. I just need to just calm down and veg out for a while, and this would be something you'd listen to.
Yep. Yeah, same here. The music stands on its own, and it's fresh. I mean, it's what I listened to this afternoon. It sounds like something that could be out and released, now currently. So what they did was they downtoned. Tony Iommi downtuned his guitar. What I found is that it was in an effort to reduce some string tension on his lead guitar, making the guitar playing less painful for him.
And not sound like everybody else either.
Yes, and the pain was a result of a factory accident years earlier where he had the tips of two of his fingers severed. So he plays guitar left-handed. So he had two fingers on his left hand. Is that right? Severed off, and that's why it's painful, or was it his right hand?
It had to be his right hand if he's playing left-handed. It had to be off his right hand.
Okay, so
I hear that story, but yeah, that explains why I play left-handed.
So it was very hard for him because the pain to go into this tightly wound strings was painful. So he loosened them up a little bit, thus tuning it down. Well, Geezer Butler on bass did the same thing and down-tuned it, and so they were the first band to really come out with this sludgy, heavy, deep sound. And so get this, once again, later groups, 20 years later, bands like Smashing Pumpkins, Soundgarden, and particularly Nirvana, had this same sound to it. And Andy, I'm a big fan of the 90s Seattle scene, and I think this is what ties it together, because I love this early Black Sabbath stuff. Just the sound of this stuff is awesome, and because it's so heavy and dark and sludgy and dark, deep.
So could you almost call this pre grunge rock then?
It almost was pre-grunge. I mean,
if grunge used this as an inspiration, you could almost categorize this as a grunge or early grunge, if you will.
Yeah, and I did not know that. That's why these guys were very heavily influenced by this. Some of those 90s bands, especially the drumming and the heavy guitar work that were down-tuned. Chris Cornell and Soundgarden and Alice in Chains would really tune down their guitars to make it very different sounding altogether. And this was all very, they were very impacted by these guys. Very, very interesting. So I did not know that was all good, interesting stuff. Stoner rock was a huge influence, especially on this album. Bands, they said in the UK and the US, like Caius. Monster Magnet, Sleep, and Orange Goblin have all cited Sabbath as a defining. This album is a defining of their era. This one album with the musical, very. I wouldn't say it's haunting, but very good stuff. All about different things, the lyrics, but boy, these songs, very mellow music on the ones that are not the hard rockers. But Ozzy, good voice. I read somewhere too on this that they tuned their guitar and their bass down to make it deeper. But all Ozzy did was sing higher, and that was not the point. The point was to have him sing lower too, but it worked. It worked that he sang the higher, and I guess whatever. But I was surprised. Very good stoner rock, very good sludge metal.
Yep.
The other thing, the last thing I've got is the producer. Andy was Roger Bain, longtime producer, and they were, when they first did their solo and their second album, they didn't know their way around the studio. They weren't familiar with it. They were recording. They were a band, and so they hired a producer to get things set and to go along with it the second time around for their next album, which was Paranoid. They felt a little more comfortable, and then they got to this one, Master of Reality. And it's Master, by the way. There's reprints. There's a lot of errors that say that's Masters of Reality, but this is Master. So after they did this, Tony Iommi was dutifully taking his notes, and he says, "You know what? We don't need a producer anymore after this." So he did the producing after taking his notes and learning his way around the studio, the recording studio. And he says, "I think I got this. I can take this where we want to go. We don't need to hire that extra expense of hiring someone to come in to do this." And he took over with his musical talent. I did not know that as well. What are your thoughts there from the musical side of things, the recording studio?
Yeah, like I said, they learned how to do it. Tony was kind of wanted to learn. He had this thirst for knowledge. He wanted to be a better musician, and it wasn't a cost savings thing. It wasn't they can't find a producer. I think he just saw how it was working and thought, I can do this.
Yeah.
And that last producer said he'd worked with a lot of other bands, but if you look at the numbers, he only did like 1 or 2 albums with a whole bunch of different bands. He wasn't like, hey, I've done 8 albums with this group and 7 with that. He did like 1 or 2 albums with a lot of bands. So he had his fingers in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and one magazine called it, this album is included in the list of 50 heaviest albums of all time. Another one, it was ranked in the 500 greatest albums of all time. And it was also described as one of the greatest sludge metal band of them all in its prime. Not the album, but the greatest sludge metal band of them all while in its prime. And so
if they invented it, I guess they should be the best at it, but
the same magazine ranked the album 34th on its 100 greatest metal albums of all time. So this album went double platinum, but it was very different back then. The reviews and the critics didn't really know how to place it or how to categorize it. And yet, like I said, they were kind of comparing themselves. Their fans were kind of the Zeppelin fans as well, as far as the musicianship in those early times. But there wasn't a lot of copycats out there doing this. So I liked it. Really enjoyed their stuff. Paranoid, I love. But Sweet Leaf, great song. And some of the others are very good as well. But did not know about the Christian content.
Yeah, even Ozzy today is very religious in his personal life. And when you hear stuff like that, and you know that going in, and you hear some of his other stuff, you can kind of hear that tone in there. You don't have to be Striper to play Christian metal. I mean, there's a lot of other guys, you listen to their stuff, it's kind of got that backwards Christian message, if you will. One artist that comes to mind right now who's very religious, he wasn't in the heyday of his career, but his later stuff, you catch his interviews now, Alice Cooper. So just, if you listen to an Alice interview today, he's going to be very spiritual. You go back and listen to him 25 years ago, not so much. So don't get those things confused either.
Yeah. one of the songs that Ever After More song, reading the comments, saying that really is one of those songs that turned people around and brought them as a youth. Many people are listening to this stuff as a youth, thinking it was hard, heavy metal stuff, preteen or junior high kind of stuff. And they said, boy, it really turned me around and became the Christian that I am. I showed it to my friends in Bible school and had my Bible school teacher, read the lyrics of the song to the class and tell them how much what this all really relates to. And these guys were really the master of reality. And so they were getting it back then. They were getting the big picture, the big image as far as things were going. That's all I've got for that. Should I bring up your?
Yes, I got my notes all organized here.
Here we go. Let's bring it up and take a look at it here. I'll take down the image. Yes.
Saw this on CNN today there, Dan.
Oh, I like that.
They made the big time.
It was on the
podcast of all
breaking news.
CNN reporting. If it's on CNN, awesome. It's got to be real.
Yes, it's some great information. Of course it is. Yes.
If it's on CNN, it's happened.
So love the image. That is pretty good.
We've made it big. All right. Rage Against the Machine has said they will no longer be playing or live together or touring anymore. The drummer said the band's kind of breaking up. They've had a good run. They kind of did their last stuff, but a lot of bands have been together for a while. They don't all last forever. Now, this doesn't mean there's going to be a reunion tour next year, but there might be stuff here and there. Don't go out and buy all their stuff because it's going to be classics because they all broke up. They weren't that good, but just don't look for new stuff is what I'm trying to say. They're going to hang it up for a while. The Oak Ridge Boys singer Joe Bonzal, he announced he's retiring from touring with the legendary group. Now, they've been here a couple times recently at Medina. Joe would be the one that I guess, I know they're a quartet, but he'd be the lead singer, the one with the mustache that does most of the lead vocals. He said on his X account or his Twitter account, pretty sure Joe still calls it Twitter too, just like we do. I don't see the Oak Ridge Boys calling it their X account, but many of you know I've been battling the slow onset now for 4 years of a neuromuscular disorder. I'm now at the point that walking is impossible, so I basically retired from the road. It's just gotten too difficult. I've had a great 50 years, and I'm thankful for all the Oak Ridge Boys band, crew, and staff. There's a constant love and support shown to me through it all. Got on to say here, another report. Taking his place is going to be a guy named Ben James, who has toured with the band as part of a bluegrass group, Daly and Vincent, and has already got some shows under his belt with the Oak Ridge Boys. So they are going to still keep going on. The Oak Ridge Boys is a band, as we know, are like 130 years old. And you look at a couple of guys, I think they've been there the whole time. They're going to keep going. They keep doing stuff. I think you're kind of see them cycle through now. So if you saw them the last couple times here at Medina, you saw some goats, if you ask me. But
yes.
Get ready to see the new group coming through and see if they can still carry that type of music on. Tesla on tour. If you look at there, January 27th, Prayer Lake. Oh, wait, sold out. So I'm not going to mention any ticket company online because I don't know which ones would do what for you, but if you're into buying tickets online, scalp tickets, if you will, go for it. But if you want to see Tesla this year at Prior Lake, Mystic, it's going to be a scalp ticket.
Yeah, that's interesting. That would be a good show to see. Now, do they have a new album out? Is that right?
Yep. One they recorded at Sturgis last year.
And they keep pushing out albums every couple of years. It's unreal, this band. I would love to go see the old stuff or the mid to old stuff. I don't know much of the current songs, but these guys have always been good.
If you talk to Jeff in the break room, he's got some hookups on that stuff. He knows guys.
I'm sure.
Or you go see Mike down at the mall too. He can hook you up.
Yes, that would be a good show. Any one of those sites. They're crossing over a bunch of the U.S. here in various spots. The Vegas House of Blues, bunch of nights in Las Vegas. Fun to see that as well.
Foreplay, they're going to be playing at the New Germany City Hall Fat Boys is kind of sponsored, so you got to go to Fat Boys to get your tickets. So that's going to be kind of confused. That's why I'm putting it up there. They're playing at the New Germany City Hall. $10 in advance, 15 at the door. We'll go buy your tickets down at Fat Boys.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good venue, I've heard. It's pretty big.
Yep.
I think it's right next door, but it's the City
Yep.
Hall location, the old building there. And they can fit a lot of people in there.
Mm-hmm. Good times have been had there, or so I've been told. 10,000 Days of tribute to Tool. It's going to be at Bogart's the 2nd of February, along with Stone and Echo, a tribute to the Perfect Circle, to a Perfect Circle. So there you go.
So
And
that's
just remember,
Bogarts is Apple Valley. That's a Groundhog's Day show right there.
yes, I have a birthday party that day to go to.
Oh yeah, every year, I'm sure.
Yes, 2 of them. The boys' birthdays that day too.
Yeah, we do want to see. We do want to see this band, when it comes up here the next, they do make their rounds. I'd like to see these guys. I've heard good things about 10,000 Days for sure.
Hybrid Theory, tribute to Linkin Park, and Mad Alice, Alice in Chains and Mad Season. February 10th down at the Nordic Brew Pub. So there's another date, the chance to go see those guys.
Yeah, so I've never been to the Nordic Brew Pub for a show, but I've seen them setting up there. It's a small, intimate setting, a great place, and for a brew pub with a stage like these guys, it's a very good place to play. A very good place to see live music. There's like a separate room. You're not in with the restaurant area and the bar. Very cool place, actually. Mad Alice would be a great spot to see those guys.
21 plus, $10 cover. There you go. And just don't forget, if you go there and you get a band t-shirt, you can only wear the shirt if you've seen the band. You don't go wearing a band t-shirt unless you've listened to the band. It's very disturbing when you see youth doing that.
Well, I see a lot of, it's common to see a lot of Nirvana t-shirts the kids are wearing nowadays.
Yeah, and they never went. So just stop, kids. Stop. And that's all I got. I am going to have notes next week about the Metal Hall of Fame. Recently, had some inductions. We'll have that up on one of the next episodes coming up. We've not forgot about our friends at the Metal Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's always very good. How many inductions this year? A handful of bands?
Let's see. See if I got some names here. Mick Mars, Sebastian Bach, Carlos Cavazo, the guitarist from Quiet Riot. And so, yeah, that's some guys going in there. And also, that's it. I got some other stuff. Don't want to spoil too many names because, like I said, it's kind of a small venue. You got to find it online to watch. I don't want to give away the whole next special episode, but I like the fact they put individuals in that, like Mick Mars is going in. They take the individual out of a band and put him in.
Yeah.
And speaking of Mick Mars, if you could hear his solo stuff he's putting out now, incredible.
Yeah, that would be a good thing. I have not been following, but him as a musician, very good follow.
We've put some of it on our social media, but if you just go look it up on YouTube or his Facebook page, the new stuff Mick Mars is putting out is just, it's different than Motley Crue stuff. Mick was a big blues guy. He was a big Jeff Beck fan. So take Beck, a little louder, you got Mick Mars. Very good stuff.
Good stuff. All
That's
right.
what I got.
Have a good week, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
See ya.